Welcome to the Renaissance Spirit.
In the year 193 AD, the world came to know me, Marcus Didius Severus Julianus, as the Emperor of Rome. It's often the case that a life as brief in power as mine would be relegated to footnotes, yet here I stand, bearing my life to you as if defending my legacy against the passage of time itself. What brought me to that fateful year? What forced a man of my standing, born to a respectable family in Milan, to reach for an honor so perilous? To understand the tempest of my reign, we must first dive into the quiet waters of my birth and early life. I was born in Milan in 133 AD to a family of considerable means and status. My father, Petronius Didius Severus, was a man who valued honor and diligence, traits he passed to me alongside his respected name. My mother, Clara Amelia, gifted me with a wisdom beyond my years. In our villa, we valued both our ancestry and the dignity of Roman customs. I was taught rhetoric, philosophy, and the art of governance crafts that seemed like the makings of a steady statesman, not an emperor destined for an uncertain throne. Yet from an early age, ambition kindled within me, a quiet flame that the world would one day see blaze. My education began under strict Roman tutors who instilled in me a rigorous discipline that became my guiding light. By the time I had reached manhood, I had developed a knack for diplomacy and an iron resolve in the face of challenges. I idolized the heroes of old, Cincinnatus, Fabius, men who stood resolute in times of peril. This reverence for Rome's valorous past fueled my desire to serve it. And yet, even as I climbed the ranks, I never imagined I would hold its most coveted title. The gods seemed to have other plans. Little did I know that my quiet ambition would one day lead me to a fateful decision that would forever intertwine my name with one of Rome's most turbulent chapters. As we continue, we will uncover the steps that led me to my improbable ascension to the throne. A path shadowed by treachery, strife, and an empire in desperate need of stability. For now, I leave you with this glimpse of a man shaped by duty and honor, a life set on a collision course with destiny itself. By the time I reached my 40th year, I had traversed the complex web of Roman military and political offices, navigating its twists with both ambition and an unyielding sense of service. As a young man, I served as a military tribune, cutting my teeth on the harsh realities of Rome's frontiers. It was there, amidst the clash of shields and the cries of soldiers, that I learned how fragile the veneer of peace truly was. My successes brought me recognition, but never had I sought glory for glory's sake. My heart was Roman, and I wished only to serve her. I soon rose to the rank of senator, serving in various provinces. As consul, I was called upon to steady troubled regions, and I proved time and again that I could balance justice with discipline, a skill that won me both friends and enemies among Rome's political elite. The empire seemed stable enough during my years of service, though beneath the surface I sensed the rumblings of decay, cracks spreading through the mighty marble facade of Rome. I watched with unease as Commodus, whose indulgences weakened the very sinews of our empire, took the throne. When he was murdered in 192 AD, I thought, perhaps like many, that Rome had narrowly escaped disaster. But the reality proved far more complex. Commodus's death did not usher in peace, but rather set off a scramble for power that plunged Rome into a crisis. His successor, Pertinax, a man of unblemished reputation and honorable intentions, took the throne with the promise of restoring discipline and dignity to our government. I respected him deeply and believed he was what Rome needed, but his virtuous policies and stringent reforms brought him enemies. He reigned only 86 days before falling to the Praetorian Guard. And then came that fateful day in March 193 AD, a day that saw the throne of the Caesars put up for auction. I stood before the Praetorian Guard offering them not just a promise but a guarantee of gold for their loyalty. To some it might have seemed an act of greed or desperation, but to me it was a necessary step to stabilize Rome. I won the bid, though perhaps won is too generous a word. I was thrust into the role of emperor, not out of pure ambition, but out of a desire to bring an end to the chaos. But taking the throne was no simple victory. It was a choice that would define my life and ultimately lead to my downfall. In the days that followed, as I sought to right the course of our empire, the seeds of my end were already sown. The city's murmurs turned to roars. Whispers of betrayal grew louder, and I could sense the weight of an empire's judgment upon my shoulders. How different my rule would be from Pertinax's, yet not in the way I had imagined. The beginning of my reign was met with apprehension and unease. I knew, even as I took my seat upon the throne, that the ghost of Pertinax loomed over me. He had been a man of rare virtue, an emperor who envisioned Rome restored to its former glory. In contrast, my path to the throne appeared sordid to many, tainted by that infamous auction. But could I, a man of the Senate and a soldier of Rome, have sat idle while our empire fractured? I took the throne not for my own gain, but to shield Rome from further unrest. Still, no matter my intentions, I could not erase the comparison. Pertinax had promised to reform the empire with a relentless zeal, enforcing discipline where complacency had festered. His short reign was marked by a harshness that some lauded, yet it also stirred resentment. The Praetorian Guard, long accustomed to their privileges, had found his policies intolerable. They may have struck him down, but his memory lived on in the hearts of the people. I knew I was viewed as his antithesis, a man who had, in their eyes, bought his way to power. From the start, I was judged as a usurper, an emperor whose reign lacked the legitimacy of Pertinax's noble ideals. I sought to continue his reforms, to heal Rome's divisions, but my efforts met with fierce opposition. The city was tense, watchful, and my every decree was met with whispers of disapproval or outright defiance. I reached out to the Senate, hoping to restore our strained relationship, yet many senators, loyal to Pertinax's vision, resisted my authority. My reign became a struggle, not just against rivals in distant provinces, but against the very foundations of power in Rome itself. The empire was slipping from my grasp as the general Septimius Severus, a man of undeniable ambition and military strength, was amassing forces in the east. Word reached me that he marched toward Rome, declaring himself the avenger of Pertinax, wielding that memory like a weapon against me. As he drew closer, I felt the tides of public sentiment shifting entirely in his favor. My claim to the throne, once tenuous, now seemed irredeemably fragile. I had hoped to be a stabilizing force, but in the end, I was swept away by the chaos of a crumbling empire, a victim to the legacy of my predecessor. As Severus closed in on Rome, I knew my days were numbered, and yet I held fast to the conviction that I had acted not out of greed, but out of duty. It was a conviction that would soon be put to the ultimate test. My final days arrived swiftly, like a storm that gives no warning. As Septimius Severus advanced, the Senate turned against me, stripping me of my title and declaring Severus the rightful emperor. I was left isolated within the palace walls, abandoned by the Praetorian Guard whose loyalty I had purchased at such a great cost. The men who had once hailed me as emperor now deserted me, their eyes fixed on the rising power of Severus. I was alone, the throne I had fought to protect now colder than ever. In the quiet hours, I found myself reflecting on the choices that had led me here. I remembered my younger days, the lessons of duty and honor taught by my parents, and the burning ambition I had once harbored for the service of Rome. Could any man, however well-intentioned, have navigated the political treachery of our time? I had held the empire in my hands, however briefly, only to see it slip away. Yet, as I looked out over Rome one last time, I did not feel remorse, only a sense of resignation. History would judge me as it saw fit. The end came in a single stroke. Severus's soldiers entered the palace and I was sentenced to death. I had known that death was inevitable the moment I ascended the throne, but I had hoped in some distant corner of my mind that my service might spare me. I was granted no such mercy. The blade fell swiftly, and I, Marcus Didius Severus Julianus, was no more. Yet even as the light faded, I wondered, would history remember me at all? Would the people of Rome see past the auction and the whispers of dishonor to the man who had wanted, above all, to bring peace to a fractured empire? I knew not, but perhaps one day my story would be told anew, not merely as the emperor who bought his throne, but as a man who had tried against all odds to hold Rome together. The sands of time have buried my name, the tale of my brief rule almost lost among the echoes of more renowned emperors. Those who knew my story remembered it as a tale of hubris, a lesson on the dangers of ambition and the fragility of power. Yet, is that the whole truth? Did I leave behind nothing but the ghost of an ill-fated emperor? History often favors those who live long enough to shape it. Pertinax, with his brief but austere rule, is remembered as the moral standard, the emperor who tried to save Rome. Severus, with his military prowess and iron hand, is hailed as the unifier. And I am cast as the unfortunate, the one who failed to bring order, the emperor who fell short. But perhaps my legacy is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the cost of stability in a world where loyalty could be bought, and power was as fleeting as the morning mist. In my reign, I learned how fragile the structure of our empire had become. Rome's people, whom I had sought to protect, were left disillusioned by leaders who used them as pawns. My story might serve as a mirror to the Roman people, a reflection of the danger when power rests not on merit, but on manipulation. It was not that I failed Rome. Rather, I was one among many caught in the web of an empire faltering under its own weight. My legacy may be shrouded in shadows, but perhaps there is value in it for those willing to see. I hope that Rome, if not Rome, then posterity will remember me not merely as the man who seized power, but as one who tried, however imperfectly, to preserve the empire in its darkest hour. In my story lies a lesson, one of humility and the dangers of a system where a throne could be sold like a merchant's wares. For that is my legacy, to serve as a warning and maybe a path to wisdom. In the silence beyond death, I am left to ponder the worth of my reign and the purpose of my life. I have often wondered if, in taking the throne, I betrayed my own ideals. Rome was an empire built on conquest, yes, but also on the ideals of liberty and equality principles that guided our republic and served as the foundation for our civilization. When I ascended to power, I did so with a vision of restoring stability, yet I found myself swept into a torrent of betrayal and treachery that drowned any hope of achieving those noble aims. Had I been able to fulfill my duties as emperor, I would have sought to restore these principles, to bring Rome back to the ideals of our forefathers, to allow men, free and equal, to stand as Roman citizens with dignity, their rights protected under just laws. Yet the very means by which I ascended stood in opposition to these values, and I knew, even as I donned the purple, that I had sacrificed part of my integrity. Was the reign worth it? Perhaps, but not in the ways that I once imagined. My story, with all its triumphs and its bitter failures, has meaning only if it serves as a lesson. Equality, freedom, and justice. These are not mere luxuries of peace, but the bedrock upon which a society must stand. Without them, power becomes a game, and those who play it are often destroyed by their own ambitions. Had I been given the chance, I would have sought to govern with compassion and wisdom, to bring Rome back to the values that once made her strong. Yet I leave this hope to those who will follow, to those who might learn from the mistakes of a man who tried, in his own imperfect way, to protect what he loved. As you walk among the remnants of ancient Rome, remember the men and women who came before, their dreams, their struggles, and their hopes. Each stone, each crumbling ruin, is a testament to lives lived in pursuit of an ideal. For those of you who seek to learn from history, perhaps there is something to be gleaned from my story. Seek justice, live honorably, and cherish the freedom and equality that Rome, at her best, stood for. Thank you for journeying through my story. Our channel, Renaissance Spirit, is committed to pursuing a world that is just, equitable, and filled with compassion. Here, we explore history, politics, personal growth, societal structures, and the liberal arts, including ancient Rome, a civilization that offers both a mirror and a cautionary tale for the modern world. We cover themes that inspire and challenge the true modern polymath, encouraging knowledge not only for its own sake, but for the betterment of all humanity. The Renaissance sparked a golden age, a rebirth of lost wisdom, and a call to seek the truth. Knowledge, understanding, and compassion for our shared history open doors for each of us, leading to a deeper connection with our world and to one another. The Renaissance spirit is more than a philosophy. It's a way of living, learning, and growing. Subscribe, activate notifications, and share with others who seek meaning in the past to better our future. Explore the channel for more insights, experiences, and ideas on living a life enriched by the pursuit of knowledge. And don't miss the quiz to discover if you too are a Renaissance spirit. Vive Renaissance Spiritus. For history has not died, only our understanding of it awaits rediscovery.